So let's cap off today with one more piece of news. It is that of yet another product that we were talking about for many, many weeks. We were talking about it through UPC leaks. We were talking about it through Walmart listings, but we never got to actually see the product itself. Now, it was a product that, if you used your imagination, would be pretty easy to figure out what it looked like. But let's talk about Transformers EarthRise Runabout being revealed today through Dorkside Toys, excuse me. And this was actually images that were provided officially through Hasbro, so it's not really so much a leak as an official reveal of the black repaint from the Battle Charger brothers, the Beavis and Butthead of the Transformer universe. So we finally get to see the black version of this Lotus team, or this not Lotus team, as Hasbro likes to avoid trademarks with car designs. But we finally get to see what it looks like, and I mean, no surprise, straight up repaint, but at least it gives people a opportunity to complete their set. There is no pre-orders available right now, but they will probably be popping up very shortly, much like the EarthRise Blue Streak that popped up and sold out very quickly. So be alert of that if you're looking to complete this 2-pack of crew. And it's ironic because I kind of looked at this news and I was like, you know what? I'm going to use this a little bit as an opportunity to kind of like look through the crazy history of this pairing, because it started dawning on me like just how many times these two characters have gotten toys, considering, you know, when you look through Generation 1's history, just like the original Generation 1 run of toys from 84 to like, let's say 91, 92, depending where you were in the world, the Battle Chargers of Runabout and Runamuck were always voted like in the top 3 worst Transformer toys of that era. You know, like them and like the Throttlebots and maybe a few others, you know, depending on, you know, your own personal preference. But a lot of people were always like, man, those Battle Chargers, they weren't very good. But the amount of toys those two got afterwards is quite surprising. Maybe because of their depiction in the Marvel comics and, you know, just people having some kind of charmingness to them, like they just think that they're kind of cute in their ugliness and simplicity and their gimmick. But you know, you look at the 1986 Battle Chargers and their story, they were pretty simple, you know, very cheaply designed, but again, a gimmick based kind of transformation, thus sacrificing articulation and something that would have looked more accurate in the Marvel comics, an actual robot mode, if you will. But the funny thing is those two were not originally supposed to be the black and white duo that they were supposed to be. In the original catalog scans of these two, Runabout was always going to be the black one, but Runamuck was actually supposed to be like a dark gray that was almost indistinguishable between the two. To the point that it was like, I think Hasbro in the end was just like, you know what, they look too alike, let's go for a black and white. And we got what we got then. And then there'd be nothing for years until almost 19 to 20 years later when Galaxy Force, aka Cybertron, was happening in Japan, and they did this like long rack / runabout 2-pack where you got a Cybertronian take of Long Rack, the Beast Wars Neo character, using a Armada hoist mold, give it a new sculpt, new repaint, looked really nice. But the other half of that 2-pack was a character named Runabout, which was based off of the old Battle Charger, and it used the Armada Sideswipe mold to, you know, varying success. Again, that Armada Sideswipe mold is what it is. But they gave it a brand new head sculpt to make it match its Generation 1 counterpart. They gave it a new accessory, remolding out the Minicon for a kind of a weapon. I kind of dig what was going on there. But one thing that I found fascinating was that alt mode, when you really look at the way it was painted up, I always felt that this was trying to be an homage to Big Daddy, the Micromaster, and somewhere along the lines, the wires got crossed, and it ended up just being called the character that we know now of Runabout. I mean, the head clearly is Runabout, but I mean, that alt mode, you put that next to Big Daddy, you'll know exactly what I'm talking about. And what's bizarre, and it really goes again to what I talk about with trademarks, was the following year, Runabout, the Cybertron toy, was brought over here to America, and as a singular pack, and they couldn't get the Runabout trademark. They couldn't get it at all. So they decided to call him Runamuck, which is kind of confusing. It's kind of like having like Bumblebee and Cliffjumper, and then when they bring it over, because they couldn't have Bumblebee, they decided to call the yellow one Cliffjumper. So it was what it was, but that's what Hasbro had to go with. They called it Runamuck instead of Runabout, and that was that. And of course, became the same figure was thrown into like a 4-pack, and it was in Costco and stuff. So that mold saw some action. Let's put it this way. Throughout the years. And then continuing on to the confusion, the following couple of years later, the next time we would see anything of that pair was in 2009. They took the Legend Scale 2007 movie jazz mold, the little Pontiac Solstice. They gave it it's supposed to be G1 breakdowns color scheme. But so the old Stunticon, the white with the red and the blue, and they called it Runamuck, and I was just like, oh, okay, sure. I guess they were just trying to keep that trademark going, considering that they just had used that trademark in 2005. It's now 2009. You know how the game is, so they threw that trademark at this little character, even though it wasn't supposed to be it. So that was more of a trademark save rather than it being the actual character of Runamuck. And then we see again just how trademarks are an issue, because in 2012 we got our first true update of the Runabout character, the black one, in the Transformers Collector Club, and they had to call it Overrun because they were just like, we can't use the name. We can't. They just didn't have the trademark. And, of course, they would also do Runamuck in the Collector Club as the freebie figure to pair off the crew. And we got those two modernized. Of course, for people who are unfamiliar, they took the Generations Wheeljack, which was also tracks, and they retooled it heavily to make Runabuck and Runabout. Runabout and Runamuck. Man, that's a real tongue twister. Of course, just one of them being called Overrun. And then you jump forward a couple years later, and you have the Transformers Adventure line. And I'm going to post images of all of these guys so you could see how they looked together. The Transformers Adventure line, which was Robots in Disguise 2015, what their localization in Japan was. And they did the same thing. They took the Legend Scale Blackjack, which was also what was the Rodimus mold for the Legend Scale from Combiner Wars. And they did Runabout and Runamuck. And so you had that pairing too if you wanted them in a more Legend smaller scale. So there was a whole bunch of toys of these characters. It's quite incredible when you really think about it. And of course they were in the Transformer TCG and in all the cell phone games. So they get quite a lot of love, considering that these guys started back in 1986 as voted as some of the worst Transformer characters. But I guess maybe that's just it. Maybe because they were voted some of the worst G1 toys of all time, that there was just an effort to make them better in every iteration moving forward. And sometimes when you're voted the worst, there's a charmingness to them by being fugly, as I like to call it. It's cute, but it's ugly. So it works. But now we got these two. These two are now out. These two new EarthRise toys, and I'm excited. I like their designs. I like the synergy that goes on there, having the pair together. I have every other paired version of them. I'm looking at even all the way at my Transformer Collector Club setup, and I have like those two just posing together because those were pretty tough to get through the Collector Club. One a freebie figure and one a subscription service one. So these guys are pretty awesome to get much better versions, much more comic book accurate versions that are a lot more articulated and looks really good. So I'm excited to see these guys make their grand return, and hopefully people will be able to pick these up easily. Let me know what you think about these guys. Are you excited to pick up the pair, the crew, and now we finally see Runabout, and they look great.